Hey y'all. Okay, we've been talking about area model division, and I'm going to go over these two problems that are on the interactive notebook page, just so you'll have a video to refer back to if you need to. So basically, with area model division, it's similar to area model multiplication, but in area model multiplication, we knew the two things that were on the outside. We were looking for the area that's on the inside. With area model division, we already know what the inside is equal to. We know one side. We're looking for that other side length. So that's what we're trying to figure out, that other side length there. So let's get started on this. We're going to start our rectangle, but we're not going to close it because we don't necessarily know how many sections we're going to end up having after this problem. I know that this is going to be equal to 5. I'm looking for all this. I know I'm starting at 645, but I've got to work my way down to 0. So what I'm going to ask myself is, all right, so 5 times what is going to get me as close to 645 as I can get? A good place to start is always with your multiples of 100. If you have a 3-digit number, you're working with a number that's in the hundreds place. Multiples of 100 are always a good place to start. So I'm going to start by saying, I'll just do my scratch work over here and then I'll erase it. I'm going to start by saying 5 times 100, which I know is equal to 500. Okay, so that's pretty close to 645. If I did 5 times 200, that would get me to 1,000, which is too much, obviously, so I can't use that, but I can use 100. So I'm going to say that 5 times 100 is equal to 500, and I'm going to subtract that away from my total area here. So 5 minus 0, 5, 4 minus 0, 4, 6 minus 5 is 1, so I'm left with 145. So I'm just going to draw my line, and I'm going to keep going. So I still have 145 to work with. So I'm going to move it over to the next little section, kind of extend that out. I still have 145 to work with. So I'm going to ask myself the same question. 5 times what is going to get me as close to 145 as I can get without going over? Now, we already know that 5 times 100 is 500, so that's too much. So I've got to go to something smaller. So multiples of 10, always a good place to start from there. So 5 times 10, well, I know that's 50, okay? But I could possibly go larger. So I'm going to do 5 times 20. 5 times 20 is equal to 100. So that's getting me closer. If I did 5 times 30, 5 times 3 is 15, so 5 times 30 would be 150. I can tell that's too much. So I'm going to stick with the 5 times 20 here. So I'm going to do 5 times 20 is 100. I'm going to take that away, and I'm left with 45. So I still have 45 to work with. And 5 times what gets me as close to 45 as I can get without going over? Well, that's a basic fact, and we can probably all do that pretty quickly. 5 times 9 is 45. So if I have 45, I know 5 times 9 is 45. I'm going to subtract that 45 away. I'm left with 0, which is my end goal. That's what I'm trying to do. So I've subtracted out my entire area. My answer is found at the top. So I need to combine those those pieces there to get my final answer. So let me erase where I worked in the solution here. And I'm going to combine 100 plus 20 plus 9, which again, most of you can probably do in your head pretty quickly. But I'll go ahead and add it together. We have 100 plus 20 plus 9. That is going to give us a final answer of 129. So 645 divided by 5 is equal to 129. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the next one as well. We have 840 divided by 4, so we're going to start out the same way. I know that my total area inside the box is 840. I'm trying to figure out how I got to that. So 4 times what gets me to that 840? So I'm going to start with my box here. And kind of work in the same way. Multiples of 100 is a good place to start. So I'm going to start with 4 times 100, which is 400. Put my scratch work over here. I'm just going to have to erase it again, though. 4 times 100 is 400. So if I go to the next one, I'm going to do 4 times 200. 4 times 200 is 800. So that's pretty close to 840. And I should be able to tell pretty easily that if I do 4 times 300, it's going to be too much. So I'm going to stop at 200. So I'm going to do, right? 4 times 200. So again, I started with the 840. 4 times 200 is 800, so I'm going to take that away. And I'm left with 40. So I've only got 40 left. I'm going to move it over to this next section. And I'm going to ask myself the same thing. 4 times what is going to get me as close as I can get to 40 without going over? Again, another basic fact. We should all know pretty quickly that 4 times 10 is going to give us that 40. So then we zero out, which again is our goal. So I end up with 200 plus 10 as my final answer. 200 plus 10 is going to give me a final answer of 210. So 840 divided by 4 is equal to 210. We're going to do the other problems another day, but I hope this helped you with your area model division.